How do I measure my podcast success? Really? Truly? You're listening to the Vic Podcasters podcast, your bite-sized slice of podcasting know-how. We're here to connect Victorian podcasters. Whether you're just starting, a seasoned pro, or stuck in the one day I will phase, stop dreaming and dive in. Join our email list or hop onto our Facebook and LinkedIn groups for updates, resources, and a supportive community. Because podcasting is better when we do it together. Vic Podcasters is proudly produced on Wadawurrung land. What counts as podcasting success is more than just downloads. Even though downloads may be a very nice, big, shiny number that you can focus on when it comes to your podcast, they aren't the whole story. Let's look beyond these basic bragging rights and figure out what's best for your podcast and to figure out if your podcast is a success or not. For today's podcast, we're going to be focusing on analytics or insights. You can find these on your host platform, so where you are hosting your podcast online. You can look at the back end where it usually has something like analytics or insights, usually under a tab on a separate page, where you'll be able to look at these numbers or statistics in a way that you can put into perspective for you. So let's look at listener numbers versus listener loyalty. When it comes to your podcast, as you can imagine, it's a long-term medium. We're not necessarily going to go viral within the first episode or two. It's definitely a long-term game. Focus on who sticks around. Your 50 regular listeners versus your 500 one-off listeners. Loyal ears are your podcast best mates. So focus on the retention between podcast episodes. And you can usually find this in your analytics platform. And if you can't, maybe look into ways that your platform may be slightly different to the norm to be able to get a better idea of this loyalty factor. Ultimately, when it comes to your analytics, your goals for your podcast define your wins. Match your metrics to your mission. What are you wanting to get out of this podcast? Are you wanting a community? Well, you count the DMs and comments and engagement that you get on either any platform that you have outside of podcasting, or if you're in Spotify's case, the comments within your podcast itself. What interaction and engagement do you get with your community? And if it's for, say, a business or a brand and you want leads, make sure you check those click-through rates through the links in your show notes. That is how you best define your podcast success. G'day listener, I'm just pausing your podcasting experience to let you know that I have my own podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast. It's branding, but make it unboring. Smashing your goals while laughing and listening to Unboring Your Brand podcast. Check it out wherever your podcatcher says that you can. You can find the one that's by the Video Confidence Coach. And that's me. And now back to your scheduled programming. When it comes to podcast success, engagement over ego is key. Watch for shares, replies, and reviews on your social media and your email newsletter. Engagement shows your content's hitting home, and bonus points for screenshots and group chats. Because when it comes to a podcast, you are building something bigger than yourself, so you want to have interaction with other people and fans of your podcast. Check your growth, and it's not just the peaks. Look for steady growth over time and not just viral spikes over, for example, particular guests or particular topics. You want to be able to grow consistently over time, from compared to month and not just podcast to podcast. Consistency is the real flex. Once you have these numbers, what do they do next? Track your listener actions post-episode. Another way to track success is, what do your listeners do next? Track your listener actions post-episode. Do they subscribe? Do they follow your guest? Do they join your email list? Measure what matters to you, not what the charts say. This may be slightly more advanced. If you're able to track your links via your website, you get a better idea the type of followers that engage with your podcast. Use every feedback as fuel for your podcast. Ratings and reviews, golden intel to give you an idea of where you're going right and where you're going wrong, what you can do to improve your podcast, and even with the 1 stars that may not have just listened to your podcast or even gotten the idea of what's going on, they can still be helpful, even if they're a bit ouchy, but everything has a kernel of truth. It just may be buried a bit. Make sure to use that feedback to tweak and grow, as well as the 5-star ones, of course. Make sure to keep on top of your analytics when it comes to your podcast. Analytics are your podcast diary. Spotify for Podcasters, Apple Stats, and Chartable are also great starters as well if you're unsure of how to read or review your analytics within your own platform. You can use these tools to actually check how your podcast is going outside of the platform that you're already on. Because sometimes the downloads may not look right unless you're looking on an outside perspective. And finally, make sure to keep it real. You don't need 10K downloads to make an impact with your podcast. Did you help one person today? You win. Did you entertain one person today? You won. Did you serve your listener? Also a win. Celebrate your podcast wins no matter what size they are. To wrap up today, no two podcasters have the same scoreboard. Everyone else has different reasons for podcasting, and that in turn determines your podcast success. Measure what lights you up and serves your audience. And hey, podcasting isn't a solo gig, so make sure you compare your analytics and your thoughts on Vic Podcasters. That's a wrap. Remember, we're here every week to share quick tips, updates, and the occasional bad joke. Feeling inspired? Good. Now hit record or go to the show notes of this episode for a backstage pass experience of the Victorian podcasting scene. The Vic Podcasters would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians on the land on which we work, live, and play. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. We stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And remember, podcasting doesn't have to be a solo gig.